Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. Once again, if you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. And as I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, I see you ghost watchers all the time. You're watching my videos, you're watching my live streams, and you're not subscribing. Please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button, so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does also help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm also. And lastly, and I promise we're going to get the show started. Lastly, please don't forget to follow me on Rumble and on Telegram. Both the Rumble links and Telegram links are in the description box below, and they will be pinned in the comment section as well once the stream ends. And now that I can see that you can all see and hear me clearly, let's get today's show started. Let's get it started, and let's move it along quickly, right? I'm going to make it a point moving forward to really have more of a concentrated effort, right? Targeted, concentrated effort on discussing censorship, right? It's something that I think about quite a bit. I see the discussions around it happening a lot, but it's not something that I talk about too much, right? But I do want to start discussing it more often, because you're just starting to see so much censorship talk happening more and more in the mainstream press, that to me personally, I think it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit uncomfortable when you're hearing so much and seeing so much false flagging, right? False flagging of misinformation, false flagging of disinformation, right? False flagging of racism, something that I take personal, because, as just Black man in the United States, though I'm not one to run around screaming that everything is racist, like you may see Joy Reid does on MSNBC. There are some things that go on in the country, and that are racist, right? Things happen, stuff happens, and I do believe in calling it out where and when it happens. When it does happen, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have people like Joy Reid who false flag everything as being racist, then it just makes us all look stupid and ridiculous then, though, right? It makes us all look foolish. And they oftentimes will false flag something as racist, false flag something as sexist, false flag something as homophobic, just simply to shut down one's freedom of speech to properly critique and criticize an individual. This is something that we're seeing happen a lot with Kamala Harris, and you see it happening a lot with Kamala Harris, with other Black celebrities crashing out behind her. As you've seen, I've discussed Ricky Smiley, other people that I've talked about on my other channels with me and Rob, where we talked about DL Hughley. They don't even want you to give an honest critique of Kamala Harris. Just discussing her record as a district attorney and attorney general, just discussing her record as it pertains to her connection to being Joe Biden's vice president. You're not allowed to talk about this stuff, because that automatically makes me some sort of a sexist. Me giving Kamala Harris honest critique automatically means that apparently I don't like Black women. Ricky Smiley says, you can't talk about Kamala Harris like this. Your mama is Black. Yeah, my mom is Black, but Kamala Harris is a biracial Indian woman. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about right now, right? But this is how they twist and turn and bend all this stuff in order to silence you and censor you and prevent you from being able to just speak on basic issues, being able to criticize people who are in positions of power, who are not doing their job. They'll false flag you as misinformation, false flag you as disinformation, false flag you for being racist, false flag you for being sexist, when all you're doing is trying to have a conversation, make a couple connections, where you see inconsistencies, and just have dialogue. These people are 100% against it while constantly claiming to be trying to save democracy. Now, I want to get into a couple examples of this here. The false flagging of racism, the false flagging of hate speech that really hurts us all, the false flagging of censorship, of sexism that really hurts us all. Because, like I said, these elements do exist. Stuff happens, and it's cool to call it out when it's real. But when it's fake, you got to say, no, 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 man. You got to get out of here with that. How many of you all remember this? Most of you should. This was only what? I don't know, last week. George Stephanopoulos was false flagging to Byron Donalds. This false flagging of racism, this false flagging of Byron Donalds saying some sort of a slur, because Byron Donalds was acknowledging the question asked to him by George Stephanopoulos concerning Kamala Harris's race. George Stephanopoulos asked him to speak for Donald Trump concerning how do you feel about what Donald Trump said concerning Kamala Harris's race and whether or not she's Indian and whether or not she's black. And look at this exchange here and how ridiculous it is. Listen to Byron Donalds' response and then listen to what George Stephanopoulos follows with. Okay, let's play this.
Question the vice president's racial identity.
Let me start it from the beginning.
Why is former President Trump questioning the vice president's racial identity?
Well, first, George, in Chicago, he was responding to a question from, I believe, Rachel Scott. Like, this is really a phony controversy. I don't really care. Most people don't. But if we're going to be accurate, when Kamala Harris went into the United States Senate, it was AP that said she was the first Indian American United States senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also talks about far more frequently is the fact that Kamala Harris is the person who created this massive inflation, which is destroying black families, white families, Hispanic families. It's her failure as border czar that has left our southern border wide open, more than 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, record fentanyl coming into our country, which has killed more Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl. And the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you...
What slur did he say? What slur did he say? Mind you, this interview, and I'm not going to keep playing this. We can move on from here because there's other examples. This interview goes on for, I don't know, maybe close to 10 minutes, 7-8 minutes. The entire interview was like this. George Stephanopoulos, he keeps bringing it back to a question that Donald Trump was asked concerning Kamala Harris's racial identity. Byron Donalds responds to it by saying, hey, man, this isn't even a really important discussion. Let's talk about policies. And every time he says that, George Stephanopoulos keeps false flagging. You're doing it again. You just said a slur. But he's literally, what are you talking about? What are you saying?
That has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Nobody questioned that, though. That's not what's in question. They ask you the question, you respond to the question, and then they say that you're engaging in slurs. But that isn't what happened. And then as it pertains to the actual facts, let me pull this up. All right? Let me show you guys something very quickly. I thought I had this. Where is it at? This is annoying. Give me just a second. Okay. Here we go. Should be on your screen right now, right? Aaron, you guys know I can't read names. Aaron Rupar. Okay, Aaron Rupar is I guess a tap dancing DNC shill, right? Uh and this is what he states. George Stephanopoulos demolishes Byron Donalds' defense of Trump's racist attacks on Kamala Harris. There was no racist attacks on Kamala Harris, and Byron Donalds wasn't defending anything. He was literally just asking a question. But this is what he goes to say. The AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is an Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat Trump's slur. Nobody slurred. It's clear you're not going to say that's wrong. And you have now established that for your audience. But what does it say here? What does it say right here in the Associated Press article that's right in front of us? It's as clear as day. California's Kamala Harris becomes the first Indian American senator, November 8, 2016. Nobody lied. There was literally no lie told. And on top of that, another thing that they do, they say stuff that you didn't say to get you defending something that you never stated. It says here, George Stephanopoulos demolishes Byron Donalds' defense of Trump's racist attacks on Kamala Harris. The AP did not say Kamala Harris is not black. Nobody said that the Associated Press article said that she wasn't black. Nobody said that. It was simply highlighted that the Associated Press article, as well as many articles back at that time in 2016, were highlighting the fact that she's an Indian woman and she's the first Indian person that was named as senator. They were playing that up a lot back then. Now they're playing up the black card. It is not a slur to state this, but if you let these demons tell it, you're engaging in racial slurs. Look at this foolishness right here now from MSNBC. Let me show you guys something. Let me show you this MSNBC foolishness. I brought this up to you guys in a live stream a while back ago, but I never played this clip. This is a clip of what's her name again? Mika Brzezinski Mika Brzezinski, right? From Morning Joe. And now, if you pronounce Kamala Harris's name wrong, apparently you're engaging in hate speech. This is hate speech. It's more false flagging. Look at this false flagging.
From inside Republican circles, and I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But the talk is to start that hate campaign and get it going and start it churning.
So now mispronouncing someone's name is hate speech. Mispronouncing someone's name now is hate speech.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But the talk is to start that hate campaign and get it going and start it churning.
So there's a hate speech campaign going on to deliberately call her to mispronounce her name. That's completely stupid and ridiculous. Kamala Harris has a mildly unique name that, depending who you are and how you just read the name as it's spelled, you might say Kamala, you might say Kamala, because based on how it's spelled, you could technically read it as Kamala. But now that's hate speech. It's hate speech. You said her name wrong. That's hate speech. And this is the foolishness that they use to justify censorship all the time. These are the little ticky-tack things that they use to justify saying that something is misinformation or that something is disinformation. They do this all the time. And I found this particularly disturbing personally. This question that was asked here ahead of the Donald Trump interview with Elon Musk on X, right? I found this particularly disturbing because you're seeing this once again. This is being discussed just out in the open, this want and desire for mass censorship. It is just, everybody's just kind of going, just kind of laissez-faire about it. Like, not a big deal. So what? No problem. It's cool. Listen to this here.
is slated to interview.
He started from the beginning. And before I continue on, I do have to make sure to thank the contributors. Thank you very much, Marcus Majors, for coming through as the first person to contribute to today's stream. Marcus Majors said, they're the sellouts they claim us to be. Facts. 100% facts. They are the sellouts that they claim that we are. They are. The people that cry the most about misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, a dangerous rhetoric, they are the ones who violate this constantly to no end. Shout out to my man Jay the Informer for coming through. Koala Harris 2024 Slay Queen. Jay the Informant, man, you got to stop engaging in hate speech, bro. This is hate. Koala Harris, come on, man. It's hate speech, man. Koala Harris, just hate speech. You can't even joke around anymore. You can't even tell jokes anymore. It's hate speech. It's all hate speech. Koala Harris. But let's get into this, and I appreciate you guys for showing love in the stream today. Let's jump into this here, because I want you to hear how essentially what this guy is calling for is for the Biden administration, for the White House, to engage in censorship. What are you going to do about Elon Musk and his interview with Donald Trump on X, and how do you plan on censoring this stuff going forward in the future? Now you tell me, am I reaching, or is that what it sounds like he's getting ready to say? I'll play it for you right now.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews. Not something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
You see, to me, you can. I guess you can ask whatever question you want to, right? And you can say what you want. But when you start hearing people asking questions like that, just out in the open, boldly, essentially, there's an interview that's getting ready to happen. What are you going to do to shut this down? What are you going to do to shut it down? Elon Musk is getting ready to have a conversation with Donald Trump. How is the White House going to engage in stopping this? To me, that's very alarming. That's extremely alarming, right? And once again, you see this so often, where you're engaging in all type of misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, racism, sexism. If you're black and you're critiquing Kamala Harris, well, your mother is black, so that means you don't like black women, because how can you criticize Kamala Harris when your mother is black? Once again, that doesn't really make sense, because Kamala Harris is a biracial Indian woman, which is a fact. So I don't know why my mother being black matters, but okay. Once again, you see this all the time. And to me, like I said, I just want to make it a point to highlight this stuff more, because I'm not going to sit here and say that if Harris and Walz win, like all of a sudden we're just going to fall into a dystopian state immediately. That's not what I'm saying. I wouldn't fearmonger you like that, right? That's DNC behavior. That's MSNBC type behavior, right? If Donald Trump wins, he's going to be a dictator who's never going to leave office. I wouldn't say all that. But you are getting closer and closer to a state in which you won't be able to reverse the damage that's done. I'll say that much. Now, what I also found very interesting as well, is that following up behind that question that was asked by that individual, what I found very interesting was that afterwards, this happened in the beginning. of the Twitter Spaces, or X Spaces, I guess you could call it now, with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So he asked the question, what's the Biden White House going to do about it? And then this happens afterwards. Let's play this and hear this.
Massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers. And
let me start it from the beginning.
So my apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
So I'm not going to say that the government, them, they, people like they did it. I have no proof of that, right? So I'm not going to say that. I can't say that. I have no proof of that. But it is okay for me to make certain connections and go, that's interesting. But even that is considered misinformation, disinformation, dangerous rhetoric, malinformation, hate speech. It's racist because, and it's sexist, right? It's all of the above, because I'm just simply saying, that's interesting. I'm not saying that the White House did it, because I have no proof of that. But I can look at these two things and go, okay, and bring it to your attention. And then wherever it goes from there is where it goes from there, as far as people keeping their eyeballs on these kind of things. This is supposed to be what media is for, right? That's what it's supposed to be for. But now engaging in any type of serious media or investigative journalism, and I'm not even saying that I'm any of that. I'm just some dusty guy on YouTube talking in a microphone in South Central LA. I'm nobody in the grand scheme of things, but just even somebody like myself, just speaking on these things, pointing inconsistencies out, and just looking at certain situations, like the reporter at the press briefing essentially asking for Donald Trump, essentially asking for Joe Biden to put an end to Elon Musk interview with Donald Trump. Essentially, he was asking, like, what is Biden going to do about it? And then what follows afterwards is that, there's some sort of malware attack on Twitter, or X, I should say, that resulted in the Twitter space originally being disrupted. I find it interesting. I just want to highlight that and point it out. But we're getting closer and closer to a state where pretty soon you just can't do that at all. I mean, think about the degree to which that I self-censor myself now. There's so much I don't say, things that are basic. There's a reason why I say the war in the Middle East. You all know what I'm talking about. There's a reason why I say, I used to say the big 19. You already know what I'm talking about, but that stuff is real. People get smacked down from YouTube all the time just for making a basic assessment, right? Just for saying 1 + 1 = 2. People get their Facebook pages and all that stuff smacked down all the time. Marcus Majors, yep, grape. You got to say stuff like grape. You can't say the real word. You have to say grape. Even though all you're doing is giving news and discussing real events. But you can't say it. You got to say grape. You have to say, let me couch it in more codification, right? I'm eating corn, right? We all know what they use corn, right? When people say corn, like the food corn, C-O-R-N, corn. I mean, this is just basic conversation that you're not allowed to have on YouTube, because next thing you know, the lights are shut off. You know what I mean? And not just on YouTube, throughout all of social media at the moment, with the exception of Twitter at the moment. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to take a moment to highlight that. Shout out to Lion and the Ox. I appreciate your contribution to today's stream. Lion and the Ox stated, as a Black woman and Trump supporter, I find your show refreshing. Thanks. Well, I appreciate you. Kamala is not Black. And it's racist for her to lie about her race for votes. I 100% agree with you on that. I can't say her name right because it's an Indian name, and Kamala is literally, it's an Indian name. We didn't grow up around Kamalas. Fact, I don't know any black people that grew up around Kamalas. No black folks grew up around Kamala. Am I saying her name right? Is it or Kamala? See, no, Kamala. I don't want to engage in hate speech. Lord have mercy. Kamala Harris, I believe is properly pronounced. Yeah, but I agree with you 100%. The Lion and the Ox, and I appreciate your contribution. And shout out to my man Cutthroat Ra for coming through. Notice how all the black Democrat speakers are hated it. Hated it. That is interesting. I do find that interesting how they always, pull up these brothers that are just, and that's cool. You know what I mean? I don't, you do what you want, live your life how you want to. But yeah, that's one thing they love doing. They love propping up that hated it. They love that. But anyways, I gotta get out of here, man. I'll catch you guys later. I appreciate all the support for today's stream. Thank you all for joining me today. Please make sure you follow me on Rumble. Please do that. Follow me on Rumble and on Telegram. Once again, when I ask you guys for that, it's not for nothing. It's not for nothing. You know what I mean? So follow me on Rumble at TD Media Group. I'm simulcasting on Rumble right now. Follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. That is a great alternative to your traditional social media sites. So please do that. The links are in the description box below. And they will be pinned in the comment section as well once the stream is over. Shout out to the 26 of you watching on Twitter right now. Please migrate over to the main channel, TD Media Group on YouTube when you get a chance to, so you can be a part of the lively live chat. And shout out to anybody and everybody who watches me on Rumble as well. I know I have a few watchers on Rumble that tune in and check me out. I appreciate you guys. So anyways, I got to head out of here, guys. Thank you all for joining me today. Have a great afternoon and a safe one. Peace.